Boy, Young Money just loves Homestead, doesn't he? Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Homestead Miami Speedway. It's a fun, entertaining mile-and-a-half track where you can use multiple grooves of racing up against the wall, in the middle, or down below the apron. It's a fun racetrack where drivers love coming to and competing on every single time we come to this racetrack. Every year this track puts on a show, and even with this next-gen car, when we came to this track in 2022, every single year, it seems like the racing here at Homestead continues to keep getting better and better and better and more entertaining by the minute. And yesterday was no different. We saw a lot of entertaining racing, a lot of comers and goers, but at the end of the day, one of the best at riding the wall got the job done. Let's get into all that went down in Homestead, Miami. Number 1, Young Money comes out on top. Kyle Larson picks up his first win of the 2025 season by winning yesterday's Straight Talk Wireless 400, where he pulled off a pass for the win with 7 laps to go to take the lead and the win away from his teammate Alex Bowman. He held off Bowman, Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, and Denny Hamlin for the victory. It was a very impressive weekend in general for Kyle Larson in his Homestead Miami Speedway duties. On Friday night, he ran the truck race where he was coined the favorite, even though he had a lot of battles with a lot of guys on the track, Corey Hyman, Lane Riggs in particular. But at the beginning of the final stage, Kyle Larson, while racing for second place, got loose on the inside of Lane Riggs, went around, routed the caution. He restarted in 22nd place. He drove all the way up through the field, and with 5 laps to go, despite being 3 seconds back of the leaders, was the fastest truck on the track and was able to work his way up into 3rd place with 3 to go, then took the lead on the white flag lap from Lane Riggs, and he was able to bring home the checkered flag. It was an impressive drive by Kyle Larson. Saturday, he ran the Xfinity race in the Hendrick Cars Chevrolet, and it looked to be on his way to winning with his car set on cruise control until late race yellow came out, which brought up a restart, and unfortunately Larson got jacked up from behind by Sam Mayer, which spun Larson's tires. He didn't get a good launch, and he ended up with a 4th place finish. Had that caution not come out, it would have been possibly a sweep for the weekend for Kyle Larson. Now, yesterday, he didn't have the fastest car, the best car by any means necessary, but on the long runs, Kyle Larson's car was very quick. He was able to work his way up further once we got into a long green flag run of about 25 to 30 laps plus. That 5 car just could work the top better than anybody. He always loves riding up against that wall, even by mere inches if he's off the wall. He still does a tremendous job at riding that wall and getting great runs off the corners. He does it better than anybody in the field. He was able to work his way up towards the lead at the end of stage number 2, or at least try to get the stage win, as he was in a battle with Denny Hamlin, because they were on a set strategy of pitting later in the stage and using those fresher tires that they had to their advantage late in the going. And it happened in stage number 1, and it happened in stage number 2, and he was so strong yesterday. Then we get to the final stage. He was in a tight battle at the beginning of that final stage, racing against the likes of Bubba Wallace and Ryan Blaney. Then we had a caution come out, which took out one of our contenders, which I'll talk about in a moment. But Larson, on the last restart, didn't really get that good of a launch and was just kind of stuck again. Short runs were not really Kyle Larson's forte yesterday, but when we got into a little bit of a longer run in those final 20 laps, he was able to work that top line and was able to gain and pass guys whenever he wanted to. He was able to get away in a battle he had with Denny Hamlin. Then he caught Chase Briscoe and got by him. Then he went by Bubba and then went after his teammate Alex Bowman. Now, Bowman did obviously everything he could to try to keep that 5 car behind him, but when the 48 kept smacking the wall a few times off of the corner, it allowed Larson to get a massive run to the inside of Alex Bowman coming off of turn number 4 with 7 to go. He took the lead, and he did not look back. Even though at times Larson was kind of maybe tapping the wall himself, it did not slow his car down one bit. And that 5 car, he brought it home, 1st place, which is the position that matters the most. Once again, Larson did not have the best car yesterday in general, but on those long runs, you cannot deny he was a force to be reckoning with. And he was thankful, I think, that that last long green flag run that we had was a long run which allowed his car to come to him, allowed him to make those moves on the outside, make these passes, and take the lead and eventual win away from his teammate. It was a very impressive job by Kyle Larson, Cliff Daniels, and the number 5 team. Of course, Homestead Miami Speedway, ever since he came to the series, he's always done well at this track, riding up against the wall and always being in contention for the win. Now, there have been times where he probably should have maybe 5 or 6 wins. This was only his second win at this track in the Cup Series. He should have more than 2 wins at this facility. His first win at this track came in 2022, driving for Hendrick Motorsports, even though at the time he was eliminated from the playoffs after being eliminated from the round of 12. But this win early in the season, it gives him a lot of confidence and momentum, because when the 5 team wins and gets hot, you do not want to mess with them one bit. And I guarantee you they're going to get a lot more wins now that they have one in the bank. And yesterday just showcases that Kyle Larson at Homestead is always going to be a threat and is always going to be the main guy you talk about when you come to that track, because of his ability to ride the wall and pass guys, especially when it comes to a long run. So a big congrats to Kyle Larson and the 5 team on an impressive win and what was a very impressive and strong weekend. Number 2, Blaney dominates, then blows up. Ryan Blaney had the best car yesterday. We know that Kyle Larson's car was so good in the long runs, but I don't think it really compared to what Ryan Blaney had yesterday, folks. Ryan Blaney's car was strong off the get-go. Qualified inside the top 10 and started working his way up and challenged the lead early on, passing Alex Bowman. And after that, Ryan Blaney stretched the field. Blaney just fired away from the rest of the competition. That 12 car was so strong. He was so good on the long runs. He opened up about an 8 to 9 second lead over second place towards the end of stage number 1 until we got a caution when Christopher Bell spun around. It brought the whole field back together, but Blaney hung on and was able to win the stage. Stage number 2, same story. He was so strong when we had that long green flag run, and it looked like he was going to be on his way to winning that stage, but because those guys, Hamlin and Larson, pitted a little bit later in the stage than other guys did, they were able to pass the 12 car at the end of that stage and take the other stage win from him. But the 12, once again, showed how strong he was yesterday in being up there. And once again, short runs for him was not his bread and butter, but when we got into those long runs, he would quickly come alive. I mean, he was so strong yesterday, leading 124 of the 267 laps. And of course, the last time we were here in the fall, Blaney looked to be on his way to winning that race and punching his ticket to the championship 4 in Phoenix, until in the last lap through 3 and 4, Tyler Reddick got a big run on the outside and ripped victory from Ryan Blaney's hands, and Reddick was able to win that race, leaving Blaney devastated. Although the following weekend in Martinsville, he was able to win and make the championship 4, so it all worked out in the end for him, even though he didn't win the championship. But yesterday, it looked like Blaney was going to be able to get the job done, because these last couple of weeks, Ryan Blaney has had really good race cars. But unfortunately, luck was not on his side in the closing of yesterday's race. With about 50-plus laps to go, Ryan Blaney's engine went, boom, up in smoke. Ryan Blaney's day ended due to an engine failure. That's 2 out of the last 3 races that the 12 team has dealt with engine problems that have prevented them from having a chance at a win or a solid finish. This is really confusing, because you normally do not see engine failures with these next-gen cars. The engines are very reliable and very durable, but it seems like the 12 team has a problem going on with their engines, and I'm not sure what's going on, but they need to diagnose this, and they need to find out what's going on with these engines and prevent them from happening in the near future, and especially when it comes to the playoffs, because you know Ryan Blaney will be in those playoffs when it matters most and when he gets that first win. It looked like he was going to get his first win of the season yesterday, folks. I mean, it would have been nice to see at the very end of the race him and Kyle Larson duking out for the win, and considering how good those two were when it came to the long runs, I was looking forward to seeing that battle. But unfortunately, the engine had a different idea and decided to go kapoof and ended his day. And he was very frustrated on the radio after the engine went dead. He said it gave no warning at all. That's the other strange thing about it. It didn't give a warning at all. And he was very upset about it. He did thank the guys for bringing him another fast race car, which they've had fast race cars these last few weeks. They just don't have the luck to put together the results to showcase how good they've been. It will come together, folks. Ryan Blaney fans and fans of the sport that are probably panicking about Ryan Blaney, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This 12 team has been strong. They will put it together. They just cannot have engine gremlins or being involved in wrecks that have not been in their own making prevent them from having a chance. They will get to victory lane, mark my words. It was a strong day yesterday for the 12 team, but unfortunately the engine was not able to make it to the finish. Number 3, Bowman falls short. Alex Bowman came so close to getting his first win of the season yesterday after starting on pole. Had a great car in practice, a great car in qualifying, started on the pole once he caught a cloud cover over the track, which allowed him to pick up extra speed and take the pole away from whoever the pole sitter probably would have been, which I think might have been Noah Gragson. But Bowman won the pole, and he was really strong off the get-go until he lost the lead to Ryan Blaney. But Bowman kept it within the top 5-6 for a lot of the day yesterday. They were solidly up there, consistently competing up there at the front of the field with a lot of the other guys. Your normal front runners like Blaney, Larson, and even Denny Hamlin when he got his track position, and even Bubba Wallace too. But Bowman stayed up there a lot of yesterday, and then we got to that last restart of the race where he was able to challenged Bubba Wallace for the lead in the closing laps with 30 to go. He took the lead from him. And the way that Kyle Larson was running side by side back there in the middle of the pack with guys like Hamlin, I thought Alex Bowman could have been on his way to the victory. Never really known Alex Bowman to be good at Homestead, but man, oh man, did they bring their A game yesterday with a really good race car. But at the end of the race, with Kyle Larson coming up from behind and pressuring him, Bowman kept hitting the wall, which unfortunately slowed down the car and gave Larson the opportunity to pass him for the lead with 7 laps to go, and Larson drove away to victory, even though Bowman tried to not let the 5 car get out of his sight and tried to pressure him. He kept smacking the wall again, and it just fell short. It was a tough break for Alex Bowman and the 48 team, but they showed a lot of strength in yesterday. And in general, the 48 team this year is off to a really, really good start. I tip my cap to Blake Harris and that number 48 team. The speed that they brought, the finishes that they've been having, they're looking really, really good. It's only a matter of time before he wins a race. He could win multiple races. We saw his 2021 season. I know he got eliminated early in the playoffs, but still, Bowman put together one of his best seasons by winning 4 races that year. Even that last race in the playoffs where he was already eliminated, but he was able to win at Martinsville, even though that incident he had late in the going with Denny Hamlin. Bowman is a really capable race car driver, and you saw like Jeff Gordon atop the pit box yesterday cheering him on. Of course, Gordon is always going to support all of the Hendrick drivers, with him being the executive VP at Hendrick Motorsports, but he was atop of Bowman's pit box because he saw what Alex Bowman had, and he said, Bowman is our guy. We believe in this guy. He's going to do something special, and he's always going to be a contender week in and week out, and he gave it his best yesterday. It didn't work out in the very end, but the speed is there. The finishes have been there. It's just a matter of time before Bowman puts his foot through the door and gets a victory. Number 4, solid top 5s for 2 Toyota drivers, Bubba and Briscoe. Yesterday, Bubba Wallace and Chase Briscoe both had their best finishes of the season, or equaled their best finish of the season in Briscoe's case. Let's kick things off with Bubba Wallace with a 3rd place result. I'll be honest, I didn't see that coming from Bubba Wallace. From 2311 Racing, we would normally expect Tyler Reddick to be up front competing for the lead and the win with the likes of Larson and Blaney and others. But quite frankly, Tyler Reddick did not really have race-winning pace yesterday. They did finish top 10, but the driver from 2311 that had the race-winning pace was Bubba, and that Columbia Sportswear car with the fish colors on it was such a beautiful race car, and it was so good out front. He had a good car too on the short runs. That's where he really excelled and was able to make some passes from where he qualified, or actually he started in the top 10, I believe, and he was up there for a lot of the race yesterday too. I mean, there was some good legitimate pace in that 23 car. Unfortunately, those long runs at the very end of the race bit him, and he was not able to hold back those 2 Hendrick cars of Larson and Bowman. But at the end of the day, Bubba did not complain a bit. He was very thrilled with the performance his team has put together, because early on this year, not a lot has been said in a positive way about Bubba. Only 1 top 10 prior to yesterday with the top 10 Atlanta. They got caught up in a wreck late in the Daytona 500. They got spun out late at Coda. They had a brake failure that put them in the wall at Phoenix when they were running in the top 10, mind you. And then last weekend, they had a really good car at the beginning and maybe could have had a chance at the top 5. They get caught up in that wreck on the back straightaway. That was not their fault. But yesterday, they put together a consistent, clean, and executed the race well. So big props to Bubba and that 23 team. I hope to see more good runs out of them, because that 2311 team, we know what Tyler Reddick brings to the table. But Bubba has shown poise, and he has shown he can be up front in these races. If luck goes his way, maybe he can get a win. And then we go to Chase Briscoe. And, of course, he's had a topsy-turvy year. The guy that took over the 19 car after Martin Truex Jr. retired. He wins the pole for the Daytona 500 and finished 4th, but got hit with a massive penalty afterwards, which took them weeks to try to appeal from NASCAR. They got all those points back, but while that was going on, they had a rough finish at Atlanta. They had a rough finish at Coda, which I did not expect, and they had that early wreck at Phoenix Raceway. But then they were able to put together a okay result last week after they lost their tire leaving the pits, and they got hit with a penalty. They fell down 4 laps, got back all those laps, and finished 17th. But yesterday, they put together a clean race like Bubba Wallace did. They wanted to come out there. Briscoe said expectation-wise, I want to finish top 5, top 10 with a clean race, no mistakes, a good points day. And that's what he did. Now, they were pretty good at the beginning, struggled in the middle of the race, falling into the top 15, but they were able to get that track position back when they made some adjustments and the track conditions changed, and it benefited Briscoe's car. In the end of the day, if we got into a long run, if Larson could not catch the top 2 lead cars, I thought Briscoe could have had a chance perhaps, but unfortunately, with Kyle Larson, you're probably going to get beat. But Briscoe, at the end of the day, could smile and be very proud of the effort. A really good result. Their first legit top 5, aside from that top 5 in the Daytona 500. This was their first legit top 5 finish of the season. And let's hope to see more good runs out of this team going forward, because I do believe that we will see Briscoe in victory lane with this 19 car this year. Him and James Small, I think, will get it together. They just need to put more good races together. But yesterday was the start of something. So nice job by both Bubba and Briscoe yesterday with solid top 5s. And number 5, the racing at Homestead. It's always entertaining watching these guys run up against the wall, run the middle groove, run the bottom groove, and the restarts. Literally have me on the edge of my seat watching these guys changing lanes, dive bombing into the corners, trying to hold their ground through the entry at the turns, 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide, and I'm amazed how these guys do not wreck. This racing was really good. I thought the tire wear was definitely solid. At times, it was a little bit tough to pass, but once you get into a green flag run where you see guys pit early and start to gain some positions, and then guys that pit later start to catch back up to them because they have fresher tires than you from when you pitted in your pit sequence. And for the first time this year, which is crazy, we had green flag pit stops yesterday for the first time all year long. The first 5 races of the year, no green flag pit stops in any of those races, which definitely shocks me. You'd think a track like Phoenix would have some green flag pit stops, and Las Vegas last week was gonna have them in the first sequence until Briscoe lost that wheel and it came onto the track generating a yellow. But yesterday, we finally had a clean sequence of green flag pit stops, and it was really, really entertaining, and seeing these guys come and catch a few more spots at the end of the stages, especially when they had those fresher tires, which is guys that already pitted, and a lot of the comers and goers with guys that were able to keep up there due to short runs, but then fading when guys were able to excel when they were strong on the long runs. Very entertaining stuff. Homestead is just a super fun racetrack, and although it's not the championship finale right now, it's still a fun track to go to. But I think that there is hope that next year, rumors are circulating, and I don't know if they're true, but it sounds like next year, folks, Homestead will return to being the championship finale. I cannot clarify that. I do not know. There are just some rumors out there. I'm sure people have seen it on social media accounts through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and all the sources. There's a good chance that Homestead could be the finale for the Cup Series next year, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. As much as, Phoenix racetrack, and as much as that race, good as that race was a few weeks ago with the option tire and thinking we can have a softer tire for the championship, I think a lot of people would love to see Homestead be the finale again, which has been the finale from 2002 all the way to 2019, an 18-year stretch. We'd like to go back to those ways. Will it happen next year? We'll have to wait and see. But yesterday's racing shows that Homestead is such a fun track. You gotta go there and watch it, or you see it on your TV, you're still getting a good show regardless. Now, we're off to some short track racing at Martinsville, the paperclip track, a track where you gotta get your elbows out, bump a guy with the fenders. It's gonna be a lot of fun to see what happens next week in the 400-lap race. Not 500 laps like the fall race, the playoff race, a 400-lap race this weekend, which should be very entertaining. And of course, when it comes to Martinsville, the one team you always gotta beat when you come to this track, Hendrick. They had an amazing legacy there with multiple wins. The track where the team got their first win in 1984, but it's of course also been the spot of tragedy, particularly that 2004 plane crash. But ever since then, Hendrick Motorsports continues to remain resilient every time they go there and always bring strength and bring a lot of trophies, or in this case, grandfather clocks, to the organization because of how good they've been this track. Who can top the Hendrick cars next weekend? Could it be a Blaney? Could it be Reddick? Or could it be Briscoe, perhaps? Or Denny Hamlin, who's always good at this track? Or will any of those Hendrick guys next weekend, whether it be Larson, Elliott, Byron, or Bowman, get the job done? We'll have to find out, but I'm sure next week won't be filled with a lot of bumping and banging, and of course, those legendary Martinsville hot dogs. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Subscribe, like, and congrats once again to Kyle Larson and the 5 team on a very, very impressive win this weekend at Homestead. Have a great week, everybody. Let's go racing!